Wow, coffee used to make me anxious, jittery, wired, and a little on edge, but matcha doesn't do that. So even though matcha has caffeine too, and for a long time I assumed that was just in my head, a story I told myself because I am selling tea, and that's part of the reason why I got into it because it really has greater benefits than coffee, in my opinion. So I went ahead and looked at what's actually known, and the honest answer is more interesting than a simple yes or no. So, my name is Christian, and I run a tea brand called OnewithTea. And I want to be careful with this one because calm is exactly the kind of word that kind of like gets oversold in the tea industry. So, here's the deal. I'll tell you what the science actually suggests and where it's generally uncertain, and the part that has nothing to do with chemistry at all. So, no miracle claims, just the honest middle. Okay, so let's start by taking the experience seriously and questioning it. A lot of people describe the same feeling with matcha: awake but not wired, focused but not tense, like a steadier kind of energy than coffee but without the sharp climb and the crash. Now, the fair question is that real or is it just a placebo, right? So do people feel calm because of what's in the leaf or because they slowed down for 3 minutes to whisk a bowl and sit with it? So that's a genuinely good question, and honestly the truthful answer is probably some of both. Let me take the two halves in turn, okay? So first, the science part, the chemistry half. There's a specific amino acid in shaded green tea called L-theanine. And I have another video on this channel that goes really in deep, but here's kind of the slow, the short breakdown. You've heard me talk about shade and shading tea and shaded leaves, which matcha is a shaded leaf, right? Before it gets harvested, it gets shaded. So when the tea grows in the dark before harvest, right, it holds on to the L-theanine instead of burning it off, which is why matcha has a notably more of L-theanine than an ordinary green tea, okay? And because you drink the whole leaf as the powder, you ingest the whole thing, you get more of it on top of that, okay? So here's what's actually being studied. When L-theanine and caffeine are taken together, several small human studies have associated that pairing with what researchers call calm alertness, better sustained attention without the edge caffeine alone can bring. Okay, so the leading idea is that L-theanine takes the sharp corners off the caffeine. And now the part my industry usually skips. These are small studies, right? The effects measured are modest. This is early science, not settled fact, and it's absolutely not a treatment or anything. So the honest sentence is this: there is a plausible, studied mechanism for why matcha might feel calmer than coffee, and it is gentle, and it varies person to person. So that's the truth, and I think it's we can leave it there, right? For some people it works, for some people it's different, right? And I think overall, let's just leave it there, experience it for yourself, see if you have that effect, and then you'll know. So, and the other half that isn't the chemistry, which, this is the part I find most honest and most easy to forget, is like, even if the molecule does everything the studies hint at, it can't explain all of it because the way you drink matcha is different from the way you drink coffee. Coffee for most people is grab. Matcha is kind of more of a ritual. Like you heat the water, you sift the powder, you whisk, you wait, you hold the bowl. Like there's a little bit more steps involved. I feel that kind of contribute to that factor. So those 3 unhurried minutes are not nothing, right? You're also giving your nervous system a small ritual, a small break before the day grabs you again and takes you in a million different directions, right? So, and if you did that with warm water and not tea at all, you'd probably feel a little calmer too. So the leaf and the ritual all working together, and I don't think you can or should separate them, right? So is it real? And let me answer that question plainly, because you came here for an answer, right? Is the calm real? Yes, I think it's real in the way most things are real, which is quietly and partly and differently for everyone, right? There's a studied reason matcha's caffeine tends to feel smoother than coffee's, and there's a ritual around it that does its own gentle work. Neither half is a magic bullet, and together they're a really good morning. So What I tell you is this: don't drink matcha expecting a drug, right? Like a drug-like effect, right? Drink it expecting a slightly steadier, slightly more present version of caffeine, wrapped in 3 minutes that belong to you. And I think that's a fair trade, and it's the truest thing I can say about it. So that steadier, more present feeling is the whole reason tea became my life. Not because it fixes anything, but because it asks me to slow down long enough to notice I'm here. You know, why do we drink tea? Why do we drink coffee? Why do we do anything in life, right? It gets very philosophical if you want to go that way, but um, I love being in the moment and really appreciating being present with life, right? So if you want matcha worth taking 3 quiet minutes over, that's what we source at OnewithTea. It's fully organic. The link is below. Feel free to check it out. And I wish you something delicious in your cup. May you become one with tea, one with yourself.